What reforms are needed? You know, the state land office obviously has laid out constitution of what it can and cannot do. I think those laws and rules are very good and very thorough. The biggest thing is that I think you need someone in the office. You need to elect somebody in the office who has honesty and integrity. That is something that I'm passionate about and adamant about. That's what we need to bring to our elected positions in Santa Fe, is people of honesty and integrity. More rules, more laws don't change ethics. I think we have to elect good people from the beginning, and then you don't have to worry about informing or trying to enforce or come up with new laws and new regulations.
There's a process of, again, increasing accountability and transparency at the land office from the very beginning of any proposed action. What I'm going to do within 90 days is establish a task force to review the land office policies, procedures, statutes, and the constitutional mandate of the office. And then we're going to report those findings to anybody that's interested. Immediately upon taking office, I will initiate public rulemaking processes to institute the following initiatives. And this is the way I did business at the land office in the past. So it's nothing new, but I want to formalize it. And the intent is to raise the bar so that no matter who's at the land office, there's a high level of transparency, accountability, and visibility. And I'll just, if you'd like, tick those bullets off. Ensure that any proposal for a land exchange, long-term lease, or sale be discussed and announced widely in public meetings around the state. That hasn't happened, in my opinion, in the last 7 years. Ensure that any long-term leases of state trust land go through a local land approval process dictated by the local city or county government. The land office doesn't have to meet any zoning requirements. I think that's wrong, and so again, working with the local communities in that capacity. Initiate joint planning agreements with every municipality and county where there's state trust land to determine the most appropriate uses of that land. I think this is critically important in terms of optimizing the resources for the trust, but doing it by helping the communities succeed. The more successful the local communities, the more valuable the adjoining state trust land. We want to establish a website that is as transparent as we can make it. Working with folks down at the city of Albuquerque, they've just initiated a new website that has that sort of transparency I want at the land office, so that you can go in and see what people are doing from the beginning of a project through the culmination of that project. Work with the legislature and other interested parties to try and establish public financing for the land commissioner race, to get away from this race to the bottom for dollars. I was on the Common Cause board for years and have been working for the effort to have public financing in our offices. It's not a silver bullet, but it hopefully will get us away from just pandering for money. Finally, reinstitute a formal and accountable conflict of interest statement for the land office. I had one when I was there for 10 years in the past. That seems to have gone by the wayside. That's the $64,000 question, obviously. And I look at the land office and the trust as something in perpetuity, forever. So we've made mistakes in the past of looking at kind of a boom and bust mentality. And that's resulted in doing the wrong things on trust land, which may increase revenue for the short term, but result in having to go back and correct issues, putting landfills in the wrong places, doing gravel pits in the wrong places, not protecting our water table as the way we should. What I don't want to see happen is our dollars that should be going to education ending up in Superfund sites or used to restore or remediate areas. I have a very extensive record of 10 years at the land office where we did innovative projects for commercial development, establishing business parks, master plan communities, job training centers, affordable housing, daycare centers, senior centers, soccer, football, baseball fields, nature preserves, all which earn more money but enhance the quality of life of community and increase the probability that we have jobs that are in New Mexico. The Sandia Science and Tech Park in Albuquerque, the Mesa del Sol Employment District, are two prime examples of that. And that was my rationale for building up land here in Las Cruces to work with the community of Las Cruces, that 14,000 acres, over a 75 to 100-year period of developing good new jobs with collaboration of the community. Unfortunately, that got sidetracked over the last 7 years.
Great question. The biggest challenge that the land commissioner faces is your number one duty as commissioner is to generate as much funding as you can from our state trust lands that then in turn benefits the education system, predominantly funds the education system of New Mexico. On the other hand, you have a duty as commissioner to be a steward of the land, to generate as much funding as you can from our state trust lands, but at the same time protect our lands by being good stewards of that land, and so that it's there for an indefinite period of time for generations to come. That's one area that I feel like I have a huge leg up on my opponent, and that is, I come from a farming and ranching background. That's what we do. As farmers and ranchers, we depend on the land for our livelihood, we depend on it for our source of income, and at the same time we know how to balance it and take care of it so that it's there for us for the next years and for generations to come. So I think it's all about stewardship, taking care of what we've got, but at the same time utilizing it to its fullest potential to generate money for education.
The permanent fund really is our legacy for future generations. When you sever the natural resources from the land, oil, gas, coal, potash, uranium, or whatever else, and it's gone, those resources, royalties, go into the permanent fund. That's the future generation's ability to use those natural resources. I would be very, very careful about putting that fund at risk. The news media has reported that we may have lost about $278 million from that permanent fund over the last several years because of bad investments and lack of oversight. So I'd really have to look at any proposal very, very carefully to ensure that we're not putting that fund at risk, because to me that puts future education for kids at risk.
My two-word answer to that question is, and I've been asked it before, should we open up the permanent fund to help us through these budget deficits? I've got two words for you: Social Security. Federal government did the same thing with the Social Security fund, and look where that's at now. I do not think that we should do that. If we had been good stewards of our finances from the very beginning, we wouldn't be in the financial shape that we're in. And so I do not support opening up the permanent fund currently.